Hello, everybody, and welcome to the what is today, September?
29th.
Thank you. September 29 edition of Collect Our Cousins, which is a special edition with Future Kane, where we're continuing our conversation about white women. Do you hear us? And if you're tuning in, please say hi. We'd love to know where you're joining us from and how you're feeling and what's going on with you today. And Future and I had an awesome live yesterday also about the same topic, and we're excited to be together again today.
It's a good morning, right? It's a good morning. Our conversation was, we had a lot of comments yesterday. There was a lot of comments, a lot of love, a lot of support. I even saw what I think is a piece of our conversation from yesterday. A person then posted a post in regards to pretty much stop the policing of Black women, in especially when we're talking about racism and the upholding of the systems, of you coming in and where you at on the spectrum, I would say, of awareness and of how am I helping or hindering the movement of us all being well, of us all healing and having a better place to live and breathe in.
Mm. I see that a lot of white women claiming to want to be helpful. Oh, Future, if you just said it this way, then people would
Be
listen
more
to
accepting.
you. Yeah, that is not helpful.
I will take the suggestions, Karen.
Mm,
I appreciate them. And also, I will say, know your audience. Is this the way you should be doing it? Because here's what has happened, I think, throughout centuries. What the people forget that are committing the incidents they're committing is that you will publicly harm people. Let me
mm,
repeat that again. You will publicly harm people or publicly want to make a example out of or address the issue. And yet then when you are addressed in public the same way you address the people in public, you don't want that.
mm,
You want private conversations, right?
mm,
How dare then we raise your name up? Okay, you want to amplify yourself? Then don't be mad if I do a post tagging you in the post of this is the problem.
mm.
However, then we will be told, well, you can't do it that way. You're divisive. This isn't palatable without saying this isn't palatable, because that's basically what you're saying. I don't like it that way,
Mm.
or you should do it this way or that way. Meanwhile, while it's nice, so some people get to sit in their book clubs, or watch the newest Netflix series on the documentary, or listen to a podcast or a live as we're doing, you don't have to live it every day.
Mm.
So that's what I need people to kind of just sit with. Of it, this is easy to point the finger and say, do it this way, when harm isn't, you don't have to possibly face a harm or a slight or an aggression every day from how many people,
Mm.
weekly, monthly. You get to tap out if you would like and go into your area and be well. Now, that's not everybody, right? I know that's not everybody's privilege. However, a lot of people who are doing this have more privileges than the people that they're pointing the finger at.
Mm.
That's my 2 cents. I know you didn't ask for it.
No, that's exactly what we need to be talking about. And so, Future, if you are called out publicly,
Mhm.
what what is the what is a good way to respond?
Okay, are you talking if people are called out and they're Black people? Or if
No, I'm
people are
saying
called out.
what when white people are called out publicly, what is a good way to respond?
I think the best thing to do, and I don't think we do this enough, meditation
Mhm,
does help, so let me just put that out there, okay, is giving time in between your response and the person's response. Because what do
mm.
people immediately go to oftentimes?
Defend, deflect, deny, depart, white tears.
Immediately, before people could even finish their sentence a lot of times.
Mhm,
So I would one say, give yourself a pause. We are allowed to take a pause. We don't have to fill air up with words just because the silence is maybe very uncomfortable for many people. So I would ask people to give yourself a pause. I would also ask you to, on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, yearly basis, what are you doing for your own emotional regulation? Because
mhm,
you are going to enter into situations, whether it's a talk about anti racism, whether it's a talk about wellness, whether it's a talk about your workplace, children, what's the new harm going on in society and in the world today. I have no idea what's happening or going to happen. But what I do know is we as human beings have to tap into the tools that we all have, backpacks of tools and resources to be able to emotionally regulate. Because if you are constantly practicing the ability to emotionally regulate, when you have to have these maybe heightened conversations that might make you feel a discomfort or a dis-ease in your being, then you immediately have those tools to go to be able to power through the conversation and take it as a beautiful lesson learned instead of weaponizing it as a lesson that was supposed to be harmful to you and not trying to better humanity.
mm. Repeat that.
Which were so I
The last 2 sentences were total gems.
okay, I think it's the ability to tap into your book bag of tools to be able to emotionally regulate.
Mm,
That's you have to do that. And that's why I keep preaching social emotional leaders are very important and priceless nowadays. So that's one. But a lot of us weren't taught these skills. We weren't. So we can't fault the people for not knowing how to do it when how would they know how to do it too? And then I also think two is sitting in a gratitude of attitude of gratitude
mm.
because I don't think people understand the toll, the emotional toll it is to even have a person who is of the global majority tell you or address you in the error of your ways or being.
100%.
We don't have to
That
do it.
is a precious, precious gift.
So for us to take the time to even say we're going to have this conversation with you is something you should, or I should say, many more could be grateful for it instead of looking at it as something that you are disgusted that even was brought to your attention.
Mhm. And I will add that it's easier to self-regulate when you are practicing self-care.
Yeah.
You know, when you are getting adequate sleep,
Yeah.
eating regularly, drinking lots of water, exercising. All of that is going to make you in a more present and relaxed state so that you're not, you know, so reactive when you see things or hear things. And I would also say when you have a strong averse reaction to something someone said to you, that's something you need to really think about. Like, consider why is that provoking such a strong reaction in me?
Yeah.
And I see a lot, especially with people who are fairly recent on their ally journeys, like this self-righteous kind of tearing down also of other allies. And it's like, no, folks, we need to build the ally movement, not tear us apart. We need to listen to people in the global majority when they're telling us we're doing things messed up. But white ally to white ally, we don't need to be tearing each other down. If you think a white ally is doing something harmful, pick up the phone and call that person and have a conversation with them about it.
What? I'm not gonna publicly sit behind my keyboard and type away and like,
And unleash all of my rage and aggression, because remember, the target of our rage and aggression is racism, not each other.
oh, some of the comments, I'm like, oh my gosh, what are we doing? What are we doing here?
And
Right?
then we wonder why there's so few people in this movement. It's like, okay.
I'm trying to be here, but and it's hard because I think there's a gray line too, right?
Mhm,
There
mhm.
are some things that are problematic and need to be addressed. 100%. So I don't want anybody to like
100%.
Future and
Yes.
Karen said, even if people are wrong, you shouldn't address them if they're in the movement for DEI. I'm not saying that. I
I'm not saying that.
Okay, believe you me, I have had people that will put on their resume, I am a equity coach and you are not centered in equity in anything you say or think, okay? So I hear you. And I also think, are we helping to heal if we are publicly then going at each other instead of centering what we value, and that is teaching so people could be better? Then can we do that? Have conversations. You and I have done that before, Karen. We've done that with other people before, to try. And I think a lot of people don't center in this to try to restore the relationship from the harm that has, right? From the harm that has been done. But people, and I'm not sitting here saying that you shouldn't do this either. There's so much ghosting going on because it's easy. Well, I'm just going to block you. I'm getting you out of my life. And I get it. I understand. I also am sitting here saying some relationships, whether it's a relationship that blossomed or a relationship that was being built, can do so much more to impact the world if you sit and pause, give yourself that time in between, and say, I am going to look to restore what I felt happened. Because sometimes we create these reels again in our mind of this is what this person said, or I interpreted it as this. And then when you have a conversation with the person, they're like, I didn't mean that at all. Like, you created this in your mind. That wasn't what I said. Did you read my words? Even with my post yesterday, people, was it yesterday, the day before? Literally, I was getting addressed of, well, you said all. No, I didn't. Okay, let's go back and reread my words, because often I am very intentional with what I say, especially when it's written. And you create these images of your mind of what you think read, because our bias is showing up at any given moment. We have to unlearn daily of, oh, that's a knowing. That makes me very curious on, why did I just place in all when it wasn't all? Or why am I so offended at this comment that this person said, even though this comment isn't even directed at me? I'm not that person, so I'm not going to be offended. And I don't need to address every post. I
Mm.
don't need to address every post. It doesn't matter.
Yes, we're getting some great
Oh,
comments over here. It's a privilege to learn rather than experience it daily.
Kim, high five. Let me
Sit
say
with
it
that one.
again. Sit with yourself on that one. Right? It's easy for people to be like, Future should have reacted better. Okay, thank you for the feedback. But did you see the 10 microaggressions and macroaggressions I actually had to deal with before I even came into this meeting today? or before I even posted that. And then you're going to sit here and attack people of do it better, say it differently. You're generalizing. This is that. This is that. That is your privilege. Again, you're sitting in your privileges that many people, I know it's a hard concept for some people to grasp. Many people don't have that privilege even.
I apologize. I have to go open the door. I will be right back.
I'm not mad. I'll keep talking. Okay, so this is life. This is what I love about these lives. I love that sometimes we have to pause and we have to go answer the door. So in this time, what I am going to ask people to do from Kim's post, thank you so much, Kim, is what is a privilege that you have? What's one privilege that you could think of in this day and age with everything going on, with war going on, with killings going on, with the pandemic going on, with job losses going on, with inequities, with pay and wellness going on? What is one privilege that you are happy that you maybe get to have? And even if you are a person of the global majority, there are some privileges that we do have depending on our intersectionalities. So, what's a privilege that you have? And if you also want to share, what is a privilege that you use to help, not hurt and harm? What is a privilege that you use to help other people be better or to have more of a ease in their daily, weekly, monthly life? Privilege. What's the privilege that you have or the privilege that you use to help people? And I'm going to give people 10, 15 seconds. So here's what happened, Karen. The question that I asked everybody to put in the chat, so these coming in, I asked them 2 questions from Kim. I said, we all have privileges from our different intersectionalities, even if you are the global majority. I have many privileges that I could speak of. Okay. There's many privileges I do not have, but there are many privileges that I do have too. And we have to look at the glass half full. So I asked people to just put in the chat comment area, what is one privilege that they have? And then what is one privilege that they have because of who they are, their intersectionalities, that they've used to help, not harm and hurt, but to help other people? Yeah. And I want to give pause because some people want to fill the ear up. I am not one for that. I'll sit there all day if I ask a question in a workshop and people are uncomfortable. Okay, let's sit here for 2 minutes. I love doing that as an educator because that's what I did to my class. So I will do that for adult learners too. Being stopped by the police and not being scared, I'll be shot. Okay, so here's what I'm going to say. What is funny, but not so funny when this comes up. I'll tell you a story. I don't know if I told you this, Karen. So I recently had to drive back home. You know this, from Wisconsin to Pennsylvania for a health concern for my mother. And I had to drive because she was going into a major surgery and I didn't want to compromise her immune system. So I chose not to fly. I chose to drive. And the drive was a very long drive, 16, 17-hour drive. And I had to drive by myself as a Black woman. And I was scared to death because there's many people that I would talk to even after I drove, like, what's the longest amount of hours that you drove by yourself? And most people were like 5, 6, maybe 10. So nobody was doing that many hours, one. And then a lot of them were men. So being a woman driving by yourself and then being a Black woman just adds more complication onto it. And I know that my anxiety every single time I see a police officer behind me or in front of me or on the side of me, I know that my anxiety heightens because it is, you have your things up. Okay, well, I'm going to pull over and I'm literally going to immediately press record on my phone and call somebody because this is the state. And I have met many beautiful, kind police officers. And also knowing it only takes one not so kind officer for me never to be here again.
Mm.
What you thinking, Karen?
Well, I'm just thinking about my own experiences, driving long distances or even every time I get pulled over. Um, the officer is like, "Ma'am, I couldn't help but notice your tail light is burned out. You might want to get that checked." There's just this presumption
Yeah.
of innocence, and there's no need to search my car or check my license and registration or anything. Like, they just look at me and make so many assumptions about me.
Yeah. Which creates a very different world when you have to get in your car. And how many of us use our car for how many different things on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis? Yeah.
So just pause and think about that for a minute. For those of us who have white advantage, or as I learned recently, I'm going to start calling us European Americans.
Mhm.
European Americans, think about if every single time you had to drive to work or to drop your kids off from school or drive to an appointment or drive to go see your family, whatever the case may be, if in the back of your mind you had the worry that I might get pulled over and it might turn out terribly, as opposed to not having that worry every time you get behind the wheel of a car.
You know what's funny is, and I have this conversation often with my kids because they have to go literally like 5 minutes down the road or 10 minutes down the road to an activity, which is really quick because it's not, I'm sitting in traffic for those 10 minutes. It's literally, it will take me 5 or 10 minutes.
Mm,
And there's times where I'm like, oh, I forgot my purse or oh, I forgot my phone. And it doesn't matter. You will be late for your activity because I can't, there's several things I can't leave home without. One is my ID, and two is my phone. And yet I know so many people who don't look like me, who are white presenting, who wouldn't even think twice if they totally forgot their phone or if they totally forgot their driver's license. It doesn't matter. All I need to grab on my way out to take my kids to the 5 minute away or 10 minute away activity is my keys.
mm.
And that is not a privilege that I have.
So imagine for a minute us white European Americans, the compounding effect of that just one little thing. I can never leave the house without my ID and my phone. What that does to your health, what that does to your mental health, if you have to constantly be calculating and planning and considering all these negative repercussions and whatever it is you can do to preemptively um, shield yourself from them, as opposed to not having to spend any mental energy on that whatsoever.
Mhm.
We have some more comments here.
Okay.
I have educational privilege and I use it to inform and empower young people. Thank you.
Yes, Lori. Black women are the
Thank
most
you.
educated in the US, FYI, if you did not know that. So a lot of us have educational privilege.
I try to use my privilege to speak when others cannot for whatever reason. I have a hard time speaking for myself or my protection,
Mm.
but I will always speak for others and insert myself for the protection of others. Thank you. And this is also something that we need to practice. I'm the same way. Like, if I see someone else out there being harmed, I will come to their aid. But sometimes it's so hard to speak up on my own behalf. Or I'll raise money for other people and causes, but it's hard to ask people to donate to my campaign or to, enroll in my program, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So this is something that totally resonates with me.
And hopefully somebody's speaking up for you. Right?
Yes.
That's what my hope would be.
Homeowner
Mhm.
advocating and standing in solidarity with those who are unhoused. Thank
Yes.
you, Shannon.
Many people, I posted about this um, when I was in my travels to my mom. I think it was on my way back. And the gas prices were very high.
Mm,
And I said, people literally possibly can't even afford to go to work because the gas prices are so high.
mm.
And then at the same time, do you remember this? The people who own places and who are renting were the prices were skyrocketing so high. I think the average was $2,000 for an apartment,
Food prices.
right? So we're looking again. I keep calling people to think about this Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Basic needs are exactly what Shannon is talking about: a place to
Mhm.
live, clothes, food, transportation to get any of those things if you have to get to a job. If you are literally worried every single day that you're going to your job, am I going to get fired? Am I going to get pulled over? Do I have enough food? Can I pay for my rent this month? Those are constant stressors that people have to live with. Or I don't even have a place.
Mm,
It's constant. But then you're worried because the person can't perform at the job. Have you even talked to that human being to see what's going on with the human being?
mm.
Basic level. Are your needs being met? Because if my needs can't be met at a basic level, I'm not going to perform to my best level at any workplace or in any school if I'm a student.
My foster daughter faces that same fear constantly at the intersection of race, gender, and identity, and it terrifies me every time she gets in the car for that exact same reason.
Yeah, it's terrifying. It is terrifying. I talk about this all the time with you, um, Karen, and I think that's why we're here and why I won't be quiet. We have proven that we've proven that black boys and black girls, little girls, aren't safe, or black
Mm,
children, period. But we have also proven that at the young age of 12, I have to worry about my kid no longer being on this planet.
mm.
That's been proven by police officers. So I hear you. It is a very real fear of every day. And then just imagine how much stress, anxiety, impact on your wellness, ability to sleep, depending on what time this child is going out and coming back, does that have on your being then too?
Mm.
This is a ripple effect and domino. It's a domino impact that people sometimes are overlooking. And that's why we're saying we're offering this workshop for all these reasons.
One more here. I have to run. I look forward to
Mhm.
full recording. Thank you so much for joining us. So, if you are uh, joining us and you're benefiting from this conversation, and in particular, if you are a white woman, Future Kane and I are opening up a special mini cohort in October where we're going to look at how white women historically were conditioned to behave the way we are today, the current context of the relationship between white women and women of color, and what we need to change in order to earn trust, and then the future. How can white women chart a different future for ourselves? Because when white women change and um, become siblings with our women of color leaders and follow their leadership and link arms, we can change our society to work better for everyone. But we need to have that vision of what kind of future we want for ourselves, to be working towards something, a desired state. And we're so excited to be opening up this cohort, and we're going to pop the link to register. We have an application, and we encourage you to share this widely and to fill out the application and join us in this mini cohort.
Now, this is the other thing that we wanted to share too. Two things. If you are watching this live and you're like, I want to go, or I have a friend or a colleague or somebody that I have a connection on LinkedIn that I think would be good, we're doing if you come into a group of 2 or a group of 3, if you're a group that's coming, what we're going to do is we're going to offer $95 to make it an even price for each person that's in that group. If you have already filled out the application, because many people have already filled out, thank you to those who already applied. If you have already filled it out and you are like, hey, I want, that's curious, I would like a discount too. We hear you. And what we're going to say is if you bring somebody in, have that person then put who's already in the cohort and has applied, and you and the person applying will also get the $95 off as long as you mention that you saw it in this live. That's the gift that we are giving to each people listening today who would like to join us.
And I am putting the application in the comments right now. Hopefully it will allow me to post a comment, because sometimes it's a little tricky. Oh, I see the little arrow is blue. That means it's gonna, yay. Oh, no. I posted the wrong thing. That is the StreamYard link to join this live. Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can actually post what I'm trying to post.
We could do it after too, Karen.
Yes. Let us see if this will allow us to post. So does anyone have any questions? How is that landing with people? Would you like to be in a program like this? It's not a huge time commitment,
Right, that's
because
true.
we know folks are busy. And what was really our thinking, here we go. This is the form. What we were thinking with this is, there's so much we ran a very successful interracial sisterhood coalition cohort, and we want to continue to running those cohorts to help heal the relationships
Yeah.
between Black women, women of color, and white women. And we also sensed a need to bring a group of white women up to speed, to be good participants in the interracial sisterhood coalition. So all of that factored into our thinking about running this program.
Well, and I think it was because people were telling us, right? Like
Yes.
the sense of the need came from people asking questions or telling us or making mention about the price that it was that they couldn't afford, or making mention to, whoa, that's a big commitment because our last session was 8. So we're saying, okay, we hear your needs, so we will cater. So we're big into co-creating. We will co-create what the needs of those that are in our circles are asking for. And that's what we did.
Yes.
Mhm.
And we especially wanted to do this in October as we head into the midterm elections. And we know that women play a pivotal role in deciding who gets elected in our country right now. And whew, women are struggling. Women and young people and gender nonconforming people, you know, these laws and book bans and all kinds of terrible policies are being enacted, and we need to get some folks put into office who stand up for women and young people. And and so that's why we wanted to offer this in October as well.
Mhm. Is there any questions that we can answer, Karen, or you don't see any?
I don't see any questions. But if you have any questions about this, you can DM Future and me, and I did put the link to the application in the comments here.
Mhm.
And yeah, we're super excited to get started.
Super excited. What's your last words? Are we logging off? Any last words for the audience?
Well, I always come back to this really beautiful quote from Lao Tzu.
Mhm.
If you want to eliminate the darkness in the world, then eliminate all that is dark within yourself. Um, if you want to, change the world, change yourself. Truly, the greatest gift we have to give is that of our own self transformation. And what we're offering here is a container for our self and collective transformation, because we can't change ourselves without being in community with others.
Mhm. Mhm. So true. So
Your last words?
I'm gonna go off of what you said with Lazatal and say, take the time to find the darkness within yourself so you can shine your light and others can see it.
Love that one. Love that one.
Yeah.
And
Find your
make peace with the shadow self.
right.
Yes.
Those
Ah,
are my words.
love it. Love it. Love it. Whew, well, thank you all for tuning in today. We'll be back next Thursday at our regular time, 8 a.m., for Collect Our Cousins. But please, please, please contact Future and me if you have any questions about the white woman cohort. And yeah, please share this live with someone who needs to hear it.
Be well.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.